Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You know, AI is everywhere these days.
It really is.
It feels like every time I turn around, there's some new headline about AI.
Absolutely.
Whether it's curing diseases or taking over the world, it seems like
Yeah.
AI is at the center of it all.
It is a very hot topic.
Today we're going to do a deep dive into AI, and specifically its impact on a few key areas like healthcare surveillance and social media.
Those are really important areas to focus on because they touch on everyone's lives in a really direct way.
Exactly. So let's start with healthcare. When I was looking at all the research for this episode,
Mm-hmm.
I was struck by the sheer number of innovations that are happening right now, like federated learning edge computing,
Yeah.
zero trust architecture. All these terms sound super complicated.
I do.
Can you break them down for us a little bit?
Yeah, so federated learning, think about it this way. You've got hospitals all over the world, and they each have tons of data on their patients, right?
Tons and tons of data.
But sharing that data is a huge problem because of privacy concerns.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So federated learning lets researchers train AI models on all of that data
Okay.
without actually moving the data itself.
Interesting.
It's like you're sharing the insights without actually sharing the data.
So it's kind of like I don't know, like a global brainstorming session where everyone keeps their ideas in their own notebook?
Exactly. A perfect analogy.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about edge computing? How does that fit in?
So edge computing is all about speed and efficiency.
Uh-huh.
So traditionally, you'd send all that data to the cloud for processing.
Yeah.
But with edge computing, you're doing the analysis right there on the device itself,
Oh, I see.
which is really important in healthcare where you need those insights in real time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially like in an emergency room situation or something.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got federated learning sharing insights, edge computing bringing the processing power closer to where it's needed.
Yeah.
And then what about this zero trust architecture thing? That sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, so zero trust, it's basically the idea that you don't trust anyone by default, not even your own employees.
Interesting.
So every single request for access to data is verified no matter who's asking.
Okay, so it's like having a super strict bouncer
Yes.
at the door of your data center.
Exactly, you got it.
I like that analogy. So that seems like a really smart approach,
Yeah.
especially with all the cybersecurity threats out there. But even with all these safeguards,
Yeah.
I still can't help but wonder, are there any concerns about AI replacing human doctors altogether?
That's a very valid concern, and it's something that a lot of people are worried about. AI is great at analyzing data and spotting patterns,
Right.
but it can't replace the human touch, the empathy, the intuition that a doctor brings to the table.
Right, because there's so much more to healthcare than just, data points and diagnoses.
Absolutely. It's about the human connection,
Right.
understanding the patient's individual needs.
Exactly. So it sounds like AI is a powerful tool
Yeah.
for doctors,
Yeah.
but not a replacement.
Exactly. It's a tool to augment their abilities, not to replace them.
Okay, so we've talked about AI in healthcare and some of the potential benefits and also some of the concerns.
Right.
Now let's shift gears and talk about another area where AI is having a huge impact: facial recognition technology.
Okay.
This one is fascinating and a little bit creepy at the same time.
Yeah, for sure.
On the one hand, you've got the potential to catch criminals, find missing persons, even unlock your phone with your face.
Right.
But then there's that whole big brother aspect of it,
Mhm.
the idea of being constantly watched and tracked.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it just raises a lot of questions about privacy.
Absolutely.
Where do we draw the line between security and convenience?
Right. Where's that balance?
And our right to privacy?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And it's not just about facial recognition either.
Right.
It's about all kinds of biometric data. Fingerprints, iris scans, voice recognition.
So basically, our bodies are becoming data points.
In a way, yes.
That's a pretty powerful concept, and it's kind of scary to think about, who has access to that data and how it might be used.
It's definitely something to be aware of and to think critically about.
For sure. And it leads us to another area where AI is playing an increasingly prominent role: surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading a report recently about AI-powered cameras that can monitor public spaces in real time and even identify individuals using facial recognition.
It's pretty incredible technology, but it also raises some serious concerns about privacy and civil liberties.
It feels like something out of a sci-fi movie,
Yeah,
this idea of being constantly watched.
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and who decides what constitutes suspicious behavior?
Right, exactly.
What happens to all that data that's being
It's
collected?
an important
It
question.
feels like we need to be having a serious conversation about this as a society.
Absolutely. We need to be talking about the trade-offs we're willing to make and
Right.
what safeguards need to be in place.
It's about finding the right balance.
Mm.
We need to be smart about how we use this technology without letting it erode our freedoms.
I completely agree. And, speaking of data collection and potential for misuse, we can't forget about social media.
Oh, yeah, social media. That's a whole other can of worms.
It is.
I mean, we all know that those platforms are using AI algorithms to personalize our feeds, target us with ads and moderate content. But I don't think most people realize the sheer scale of data collection involved.
It's mind-boggling how much data they have on us.
Right. And the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they actually just released a report criticizing these companies for their AI and data practices.
Yeah, they're basically saying that these companies are playing fast and loose with our data.
So it's not just about, seeing an ad for those shoes you were just looking at.
No, it's much bigger than that. These algorithms can influence our opinions, our voting choices, even our mental health.
Okay, now that's getting a little scary.
It is a little unsettling.
It feels like we're handing over a lot of power to these companies and their algorithms.
And we often don't even realize we're doing it.
Right. It's like they know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
Sometimes it feels that way.
So what can we do about it? I mean, these companies are massive. They have so much data on us.
Yeah, it can feel like a David and Goliath situation.
It does.
But that doesn't mean we're powerless.
Right.
We can demand better.
Yeah.
We can push for stronger data protection regulations.
Okay.
We can hold these companies accountable.
So it's about being informed and empowered.
Exactly. And making conscious choices about how we interact with these technologies.
Right, because ultimately the future of AI is not predetermined.
It's true.
It's up to us to shape it.
And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to be aware of the issues and to engage in the debate.
Exactly. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, don't worry. You're not alone. This is a complex issue,
It is.
but it's one that we can tackle together.
Absolutely. And the more informed we are, the better equipped we'll be to make the right decisions.
Exactly.
Mm.
So stay tuned, because in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some potential solutions and talk about how we can collectively shape a future where AI is a force for good.
I'm looking forward to that conversation.
I do. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it should be.
So stick around.
We'll be right back.
We were just talking about social media and, these algorithms that seem to know us better than we know ourselves. But it's not just social media. AI is popping up everywhere, right?
It really is. It's becoming more and more pervasive.
Like I was reading about AI being used in finance with something called predictive analytics.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain what that is?
So predictive analytics is basically using AI to forecast future trends.
Yeah.
In finance, it's often used to predict stock market movements.
Oh, so it's like a crystal ball for investors.
Kind of, but instead of magic, it's using data and algorithms.
So it's analyzing like historical stock prices and economic indicators
Exactly. It's looking for patterns and trends.
to try to predict what's going to happen next.
Yep, that's the idea.
But that seems kind of risky. Like, what if the algorithms are wrong?
Well, no predictive model is perfect.
Right.
But the idea is that by analyzing massive amounts of data,
Yeah.
AI can identify patterns that humans might miss.
Okay, but what about bias? Like, could these algorithms be biased?
That's a really important question, and it's something that researchers are actively working on.
Because if they're trained on biased data,
Right.
then they could perpetuate existing inequalities.
Exactly. Like, imagine an AI system that's used for loan approvals.
Okay.
If it's trained on data that reflects historical biases in lending practices,
Oh, I see.
then it could unfairly deny loans to certain groups.
That's a scary thought.
It is, and it highlights the need for transparency and accountability in AI development.
We need to make sure that these systems are fair and unbiased.
Absolutely, and that they're being used ethically.
And it's not just finance. AI is even making its way into our homes, right?
Oh, yeah, think about those voice assistants.
Like Alexa and Google Assistant.
Exactly. They're so convenient.
They are.
But they're also collecting a lot of data about us.
Which is kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. They're always listening, even when we don't realize it.
And what are they doing with all that data?
That's a good question, and it's not always clear.
Right. Are they using it to improve the voice assistant's functionality?
Maybe?
Or are they selling it to third-party companies?
It's possible.
Like we're trading our privacy for convenience.
It's a trade-off that we need to be aware of.
For sure. And then there's self-driving cars, another area where AI is making huge strides.
Yeah, autonomous vehicles are going to revolutionize transportation.
But there are still a lot of questions about safety and liability.
Absolutely. Like, what happens if a self-driving car malfunctions?
Right, who's responsible?
And what about the data that these cars are collecting?
They're like giant data gathering machines.
They're recording our location, our
And
driving habits.
maybe even our conversation.
It's possible, and that data could be used in ways that we never intended.
So it's back to that balance again
Mm-hmm.
between innovation and privacy.
Exactly. We need to be thoughtful about how we develop and deploy these technologies.
And make sure that they're being used responsibly.
I completely agree.
So it seems like the future of AI is really up to us.
It is. We have the power to shape it.
We need to be informed, engaged, and advocate for ethical and responsible AI development.
Absolutely. And that's why we encourage everyone to join the conversation over at AI for the People.
Share your thoughts, your concerns, your ideas.
Because the future of AI is too important to be left to just a few people.
We all need to be part of this conversation.
Exactly.
We've covered a lot of ground so far.
Yeah, we have.
From healthcare to finance to self-driving cars.
It's been a whirlwind.
It has, but I think it's important to see the big picture,
Mm-hmm.
to understand how AI is impacting our lives in so many different ways.
And to start thinking about the kind of future we want to create.
Exactly, because the future is not predetermined.
It's up to us to shape it.
So let's keep exploring these ideas and working together to build a future where AI is a force for good.
I'm all for that.
We've talked about the potential of AI, the risks, the ethical concerns. I mean, it's a lot to take in.
It really is. It's a complex and rapidly evolving field.
But before we all just, throw our hands up in despair,
Right.
let's talk about solutions.
Yeah, because there are solutions.
Because it feels like we're at a crossroads right now with AI.
I agree.
And we have a chance to shape its development
We do.
in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. So let's talk about how we can do that.
Okay, so one thing that I keep hearing about is regulation.
Right?
Is that the answer?
Regulation is definitely part of the solution.
Okay.
We need clear guidelines and safeguards to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
So it's like setting some ground rules.
Exactly. Think of it like building codes for the digital world.
I like that analogy.
You wouldn't let someone build a house without following safety regulations. Same thing with AI. We need to make sure that it's being built and used in a way that doesn't harm people.
So it's not just about letting companies do whatever they want.
No, it's about setting boundaries and holding them accountable.
Okay, so regulation is important, but it's not just about rules.
Right. No, it's also about ethics.
Okay, so how do we ensure that AI is developed ethically?
Well, it starts with education.
Okay.
We need to educate developers, policymakers, and the public about the ethical implications of AI.
So it's about raising awareness.
Exactly. We need to have open and honest conversations about the potential risks and challenges.
Seems if we don't understand the risks,
Right.
then we can't mitigate them.
Exactly. And we also need to be proactive in developing ethical guidelines and frameworks.
So it's not enough to just react to problems after they occur.
No, we need to anticipate potential issues and address them before they become a crisis.
And that requires collaboration, right?
Absolutely. We need experts from different fields to come together and work on these issues.
So we're talking ethicists, computer scientists, social scientists.
Yes, all of the above. And we need to include the public in these conversations too.
All right, because ultimately AI is going to impact all of us.
Exactly. So we all need to have a say in how it's developed and used.
So what can we as individuals do?
Well, first of all, stay informed.
Oh.
Educate yourself about AI, its potential benefits and its risks.
Right, because knowledge is power.
It is. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, like when you see a new AI-powered product or service,
Right.
ask yourself how it works, what data it's collecting.
Exactly. And how that data might be used.
And if you're not comfortable with the answers...
And don't use it.
Exactly. You have the power to choose.
And we can also support organizations that are working to promote ethical AI development.
Right. There are a lot of great groups out there doing really important work.
There are. And we can also advocate for stronger data protection regulations.
So it's about being informed, making conscious choices, and speaking up.
Absolutely. And remember, the future of AI is not set in stone.
It's a work in progress.
It is, and we all have a role to play in shaping it.
So let's keep talking about these issues. Keep asking tough questions and work together to build a future where AI is a force for good.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's been a pleasure having you. I've learned a lot.
You too.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.